The story of Nolan Wells is quite interesting. He's a young man who was going to the Community College of Mississippi. On July 4th, he decided to go to Horn Island with a few of his friends. Horn Island is located south of Mississippi, and it's an island that's only accessible via boat. The story takes a weird turn when Nolan tells his friends, hey, I'm going to stay on the island to talk to this girl. But the girl that he said he's going to stay on the island and talk to then tells police, I thought he was leaving with his friends. I never saw him get on the boat, but I thought he was leaving with his friends. He did not stay with me. These are just some of the details that have come out. The story does not end there. You now have Al Sharpton and Ben Crump representing the family of Nolan Wells. And this is what they had to say.
The glaring contradictions just jump out at you. The fact that he is there with his friends, and you look at all the videos, it seems to be he's the only black on the island, or maybe one other, but not many. And so, Jared, you have where a young woman he was talking to says that, well, Nolan said he was going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys say that Nolan told them he was going to stay and talk to the young woman. It's a contradiction. They're not saying the same thing. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not. And then the fact, Reverend Al, that they have this video of an argument that is going on. And you know, thank God, all young people, they have cell phones, and anytime you hear people raising their voice, they start the video. And so you hear on the video, Nolan saying, give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing? And that becomes even more relevant when you think about the story that they are presenting, that Nolan chose to stay behind. That's what they're saying. His phone, he wouldn't take that with him if he's going to stay behind on an island. I mean, we're talking about an 18-year-old kid. What teenager would leave their phone behind if they're going to stay on this island? What teenager wouldn't take their phone? And so it's not adding up. It's not adding up at all. The fact, as Reverend Al said, you know, they didn't take his phone with them. His mother, when she finds out that her baby is missing, they start trying to track the phone. The GPS the phone, they've used Life 360, and they discover that, well, the phone is on land. The phone is on land, but you're saying he went missing on the island. And so it's not adding up.
So when we made it home, my sister and I actually went through Nolan's cell phone, particularly Snapchat, because that is so popular with the children. And when we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed, hey Ma, come on, take a picture of me. You know, like that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted.
And here's one of the biggest questions of all. More than 200 people were reportedly on that island. Boats everywhere. Anyone see anything?
This notion that, well, he drowned, y'all have, I'm sure, seen all the videos out there. I mean, if he's drowning, nobody sees him drown? Nobody offers assistance? Nobody tries to help him? I mean, obviously, he stands out. I think, the only black person I saw when I'm looking at the videos. And if you see him drowning, you mean nobody is going to try to help him? It's not adding up. It is not adding up. And that's why the family, at their behest, we had an independent autopsy being performed. And we thank Colin Kaepernick for helping to pay for that independent autopsy. And we thank Tyler Perry for helping to pay for the funeral, because as Reverend Al said, these were just regular parents going about their life. They weren't expecting any of this. And then we're having to try to hire all these experts to be able to go and see if they can retrieve deleted messages. We have to have experts. You'll hear from Attorney Park talk about, where the body was found when it was recovered, and how long it took to be recovered.
So despite prior assurances that Crump's team would have the autopsy results as soon as possible, it seems we're still waiting for those. And we're going to keep following this story. We're going to keep seeing what develops.
So you heard it there from Crump. There's a few things that don't make sense. How is there 200 people? No one sees him drowning. No one sees what happened. No one offers help. I don't know if I necessarily jump to the conclusion that because he's black, something happened to him, or the white people did something to him because he's black. I understand it's Mississippi. From my understanding as well, Mississippi has 55% white population and 36% black population. So there's about a 21% gap between white and black folks. And we know from history that there's been racial tensions in Mississippi. Now, can we say that that exists still to this day? I'm sure there's some people who don't like black folks. I won't say there aren't any. I'm sure there's some. But I don't know if I'm going to run with the narrative just yet that this was something that happened because Nolan was black. There's a few other interesting portions to this that I want to discuss, and I want to start off with this video here.
These are Nolan Wells' friends that didn't remember anything, but they remembered to deactivate every single social media account that they have. Them, his girlfriend, their parents, all the accounts deactivated and wiped clean. All of them. Jax, Eric, Wyatt, Warren, Morgan, jail. Jail for everyone. Because they're already circling the wagons. They're already lawyered up. But wait, their parents are doctors, lawyers, and judges. This is the father of one of his friends. And this is the stepmama, Ashley Cole. Court judge for Jackson, George, and Greene counties in the beautiful state of Mississippi has already deactivated her account. Deactivated all the accounts, and they have all unfollowed Nolan. And this is Katie, who's either a friend, close friend, or girlfriend, who
this
is
was the girl that he said he was talking
allegedly
to,
cooperating with authorities because all the other friends are lawyered up and circling the wagons and not helpful and not talking. The doctors and the lawyers and the judges' parents of these 5 have said that they would like privacy, please, at this time. But you know what? Name them publicly. No privacy and no peace for Eli, also known as Jax, Eric, Wyatt, Warren, and Morgan. What happened to Nolan? What did you do to Nolan? His phone came back safe, but he didn't? Why were y'all arguing just minutes before he was reported missing? And y'all were continuing to party late into the evening. Other boats that were docked and parked next to yours saw y'all. But Nolan was missing. We're going to find out. The truth shall come to light.
I can understand why some people are making the assumption that this has something to do with race. I don't necessarily agree with that. I won't attribute whatever happened to Nolan to race. But what I will say is that this is very suspicious on what happened. I can also see young kids drinking on the 4th of July, enjoying themselves. At that age, you are full of testosterone. You're ready to always fight. There could have been some perceived disrespect. Maybe Nolan was talking to the girl and another guy liked the girl, and then a fight ensued. Something happened to Nolan. I've even heard some wild theories of this is some kind of KKK initiation or something crazy like that. Tensions rise for whatever reason, whether it's perceived disrespect or actual disrespect. A fight breaks out. Maybe Nolan is attacked. Maybe he's pushed. Maybe he defends himself. And at some point in time, Throughout that day, a few boys decide to take it out on Nolan when no one's looking. I won't attribute that to race. I can attribute that to being a young man, being impulsive, and also drinking. We don't have all the details yet, and the investigation is ongoing. I can also see how Ben Crump says that he doesn't like how the situation has already been handled by the police. I think it's okay to want independent autopsy as well as an independent investigation, especially in a situation where you have all the kids who've now lawyered up and their parents being part of the judicial system. I think ultimately, when we look back at this story, we're going to see that there was some kind of horseplay, there was some kind of issue that happened between the boys, and I hope that justice is served. I don't think he drowned. I think that's kind of a ridiculous thought process. He would drown around 200 people and no one saw him. Where was he, on the other end of the island? I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. Do you agree with Ben Crump and Al Sharpton? Do you think the parents are maybe just trying to protect their kids and are trying to avoid scrutiny from the media? Or is this a deliberate act to hide some more nefarious intentions? Either way, guys, let me know what you think. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and until next time.